Hello, beautiful people. This is your Pisces season transit overview, along with a collective tarot reading I will do at the end so we can get an idea of the energetics outside of the astrology transits that we are looking at for the season ahead. And if you see me glance off screen to the side here, it's just that I have my notes to the side of all of the transits that are upcoming. So just taking a look at what comes next when I do glance over there. So let's just start off from the top. As I record this, the sun had already moved into Pisces this morning at 10:52 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And just as a side note, all of the times that I will mention are in Eastern Standard Time because that's where I reside. So adjust as needed for your own personal time zone. But like I said, no matter where you are on the earth, the sun moved into Pisces this morning or today. And this Pisces season will be very inundated with Piscean and watery energy, considering Pisces is ruled by Jupiter, which is still residing retrograde in Cancer, but that Jupiter retrograde is going to turn around as we move through Pisces season. But along with the sun, we'll have Mercury transiting Pisces, which will also station retrograde during Pisces season. We'll have Venus move through Pisces, we'll have Mars move through Pisces, and again, as those planets are moving through, they will be ruled by our Cancer Jupiter, which is then ruled by the moon. So it's this very inner focused, emotional, kind of subconscious, gucky, boggy energy that we're going to be moving through for most of the time, no matter what we're trying to do. Mars is the planet of action, so a lot of the action that we're going to take is going to be more inward focused action during Pisces season when it comes to Venus, our values and the beauty and the attraction that we go towards in the world. The things that are driving us towards that beauty is going to be more focused on inward of what we find beautiful in ourselves and how we can reflect that to the world around us. With Mercury, especially as Mercury stations retrograde on February 26th at 1:48 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it will stay retrograde all of Pisces season and won't turn back around until the sun's already moved into Aries at 3:33 p.m. on March 20th. So we will be moving through a Mercury retrograde for the majority of Pisces season. And that Mercury retrograde will happen entirely in Pisces, beginning at 22 degrees Pisces, a critical degree, and it'll end at 8 degrees Pisces, where it will be very close to conjoining the North Node. So even the way we communicate with others is going to be very emotionally driven. And then once Mercury stations retrograde, it's just going to amp up this idea of miscommunication. Because when Mercury retrogrades happen, it already throws a wrench in indirect communication, right? But then you have it in Pisces, which is the sign that rules over the collective unconscious. It's just a whole conglomeration of people trying to meet each other here, but one person is up here when they're over here, the other person's down here when they're over here, and then the group as a whole is just everywhere in whichever direction they want to go in. So there's going to be not necessarily tension because Pisces, because it has a general empathetic understanding of the collective unconscious and the emotions that everybody moves through, it's not going to be tension which results in aggression. It's going to be more passive aggressive tension where it's like, if you are trying to communicate clearly and you think you're communicating clearly because Mercury is also the intellect and the mind and how we sort through patterns in our brains, you may think you are saying something as clearly as possible, but you are explaining the alphabet from A to B when the person who's listening is expecting you to go through the Roman numerals from X to V or whatever. I'm not good at Roman numerals, but you understand. It's like you think you're speaking clearly, but that other person is speaking a different language. They don't understand the language you're speaking. So it's like you both think the other person is being purposefully obtuse, but because you're trying to approach it from an understanding of like, oh, well, maybe they're just not understanding it. There's like, you don't want to lash out at them, but there's this inner bubbling tension where it's like, this is not that difficult to grasp. But again, it's because it's all inward and because it's ruled by a Jupiter retrograde in Cancer, and that Jupiter will be retrograde for the majority of Pisces season until March 10th, and then it'll station direct from there. But even when it goes direct in Cancer, Jupiter retrograde is still bringing ourselves very, very inward, and we've been in this retrograde for months now. It brings ourselves inward, and in Cancer, it's inward to analyze our internal emotions, our roots, where we come from, how we have developed into the flower we are today because of where we've been, because of our ancestry, because of our history. And so when it's retrograde, we're doing all of that internally. So retrograde in Cancer, ruling over a Mercury retrograde in Pisces, it's just a whole mess of empathetic, gucky, ocean water deep, trying to approach people with a general empathetic understanding, but also getting really fucking frustrated when the delivery is just not landing. But again, because there's this empathetic undertone, you don't want to lash out at the person. So be very mindful of the inner rage that you feel because that inner rage may be misdirected during this Pisces season. And that's especially true when on the road. Sometimes, if I'm not doing my emotional work to clear out what needs to be clear out and I go for a drive, I'm cussing everybody out. I'm cussing everybody out. I'm driving recklessly. So just do what you can to keep yourself level. When we're in Pisces, being ruled by a Cancer Jupiter, and again, I think Jupiter is going to be at 15 degrees Cancer the entire time, and 15 degrees is a Gemini degree. So it's literally just a big loop of our Sun, our Mercury retrograde, Venus for part of the time, and our Mars for part of the time being ruled by our Cancer Jupiter, which will be retrograde for most of the time, at 15 degrees the entire Pisces season, which is a Gemini degree, which is ruled by our Mercury retrograde in Pisces, which is ruled by the Jupiter. Again, it's just this big circle. And again, Mercury is the intellect and it's the way we communicate with others. Mars is our drive, it's our action, it's how we put our feet on the ground and actually get moving in our lives. Venus is what we hold dear and cherish and the way we set up our value system. And the sun is just our expression, it's our identity, it's how we approach the world every single day and show our faces to the world. So all of this not only being in that subconscious goopy ocean energy of Pisces where it is dark and unconscious and more subtle rather than overt, it's this energy of the underlying currents. A lot of things are gonna be repressed, especially when Mars is in Pisces. Mars moves from Aquarius into Pisces on March 2nd. So about half of the time during Pisces season, that Mars, it'll move from Aquarius where it is very action oriented. It's airy. It has space to maneuver. You're going from this place where it's only atmosphere and you can breathe openly and you can move fast and you can sprint if you want to, all the way into the deep, all the way into the very unconscious realm of Pisces. Have you ever tried to run in water? It doesn't work. So it's almost like, especially towards the end of Pisces season, you will be forced to slow down and really analyze the internal and analyze the things and the emotions you've been suppressing. Whether it's the short-term things because of a miscommunication that you had with a friend and you're frustrated because of that, or especially with Jupiter retrograde coming to an end by the end of Pisces season, it could be those long-term things that you have suppressed for too long. You're going to want to actually look at that and analyze them before Jupiter turns around on March 10th. You're going to want to look at what's been repressed. And even if that means you have to spelunk or dive all the way down into the depths when you really, really don't want to, this is going to be a great time for meditation and subtle messages and energies coming through from your guides, from your ancestors, from your spirit team, from whoever, but from your own subconscious. Meditation is going to be your best friend during the season, not only to stay grounded while we are drifting in all of this undercurrent energy, but also to receive answers and understanding about yourself that you maybe haven't been able to see for a very, very long time. And again, if you can do this, especially before Jupiter turns around, it's giving you that extra motivation and the extra energy you need to really dive as deep into yourself as humanly possible to look at what needs to be seen. And not only to look at it, to address it. Not to look at it and be like, oh, okay, I see it now. Now I'm never going to look at it again. To look at it and address it, because our planet of action is going to be with you in that subconscious realm. So all of the action we need to take, it needs to be internal during this Pisces season. Extra, more than even any other Pisces season, because we have so much Piscean energy, and it's all ruled by that 15 degrees Jupiter retrograde in Cancer, which again will turn around by the end of Pisces season on March 10th. But once it turns around, if you've already done the inner work to really dig into the depths of your roots to look at what you haven't looked at in a very long time, dredge up what has been suppressed so you can put it in front of you and acknowledge it, because awareness is the first step to everything we do. If you're able to acknowledge what needs to be seen during this Pisces season, once Jupiter turns around, Jupiter is the planet of luck, growth, and expansion. If you're doing the work to acknowledge what needs to be acknowledged and seen, you can then expand that and have it work with you rather than have it be continue to be this suppressed thing that unconsciously guides your life. This Jupiter retrograde before it turns around, if you do the work before then, once it turns around, you are going to be forward moving. I mean, we're still going to have that energy of the unconscious realms because Jupiter's still in Cancer. We still have a lot of Piscean energy, but it's going to be a lot easier for you to not be controlled by your unconscious wills, by your repressed anger and aggression. It's going to be a lot easier for you to actually meet people at a level playing field and loving. Freudian slip, but in a good way. A level playing field where you are actually approaching them from loving empathy rather than an empathy that you feel duty bound to honor, right? You do it because you want to, not because you feel you have to. It's a much different playing field at that point. So, while we're moving through all of this unconscious energy, look at it, look at what needs to be seen, Say, okay, I don't necessarily love this about myself. I don't love that I've done this. I don't love that I've been here, but I love it because it's a part of me. And it's in that integration which will help you move forward in a more ready made manner as we move ahead into whatever's next with the collective. Because, I mean, even going beyond the personal, um, going beyond the personal experience right now, the energy we are facing collectively is insane. Like I was gonna not try to use that word. It's insane. We're seeing it globally. We're seeing wars. We're seeing upheaval. We're seeing the raids. We're seeing the files. We are existing in unprecedented times right now. And the more we can do the inner work for ourselves, the more we're able to show up for our communities and show up for the people who are being repressed, suppressed, and taken and beaten. And I don't know about YouTube's guidelines, but out in the streets, taken from their families, uprooted from their homes. The more you can do this inner work of the suppression and repression that you have within you, especially if you look like me, if you're white, if you're privileged in any capacity, the more you can do the work on yourself so you are able to show up fully and presently for the people that truly need our alliance right now, that's what you need to be doing, especially before this Jupiter turns around. That's the greatest advice I can give. That's the greatest advice I can give right now. Get all of that work done internally so you can show up, so you can be an ally, so you can put your energy and efforts where it truly does matter and where it will make a collective difference rather than just a difference internally. It all starts inside them. It all starts inside. So the more you can do that inner work right now, the better off you will be and the more readily able you will be able to be available to those that need it. Anyway, arguably our most heavy hitter conjunction that we have during the season actually happens in 2 days from now, 2 days as I record this. On February 20th, we will have Saturn and Neptune directly conjoin each other at 0 degrees and 45 minutes of Aries. Now, this conjunction happens every 36 years or so, but the fact that it's happening at 0 degrees, which is the very first degree in the entire zodiacal wheel, this is brand new and unprecedented times. And every time they do conjoin, it brings calamity in the collective. We've seen wars, we've seen revolutions, we've seen so many different dynamics because Saturn is, I almost said Saturn is Saturn. Saturn is the father figure of the zodiac, right? He's ruled by Kronos, the god Kronos. Saturn is the physical realm. It's discipline. It's how we can build today so that 10 years from now, we are sitting pretty in the castle that we already put the hard work in and we can kick our feet up now because the hard work has been done. Saturn likes discipline, it likes structure, it likes routine, it likes to be very grounded in reality. It does not do well in Aries because Saturn is exalted in Libra, which means it's in the fall when it's in Aries. So it's already uncomfortable where it is. On top of that, it conjoins Neptune, which is pretty much, I don't want to say as opposite Saturn energy as you can get because it's more subtle than that. But it's more nuanced than that, I should say. But Neptune is the planet of our spirituality. When you look at Neptune as a planet, you cannot see the planet head on because it's covered in hundreds of miles of dust, of storms, of debris, of lightning. You can't, when you look at Neptune as the planet, every picture we have of Neptune, it's not of the actual rock, it's of the atmosphere surrounding that planet. Versus when you look at Earth, yeah, there might be some clouds in the pictures, but for the most part, you can see Earth. We cannot see Neptune head on. And that's the energy Neptune brings. It's our spirituality because it deals in the things that cannot be seen, the esoteric side of life. It's the unconscious, it's the collective unconscious. And in modern rulership, when we look at modern rulership and astrology, Neptune rules Pisces, which I have already stated so many times. Pisces is the deep, dark ocean depths. Pisces is the collective unconscious. Pisces is everything we cannot directly see, hear, know, or smell. It's the things that we have to dive deep into ourselves or into the collective in order to understand through gnosis. The true wisdom of Pisces cannot be taught because it's the wisdom of every single sign of the zodiac leading up to it. Neptune is a similar vibration there. It rules over all of that side, but it's also disillusionment. But because of that, because there's no real directness, you cannot directly see the planet, and it's this ooey gooey, unconscious, subconscious mush that we're dealing with internally. Saturn and Neptune aren't really compatible. When they join up together, that's why there's so much calamity, because one demands structure and order and discipline, and the other is just kind of like airy fairy, like uncertainty, go with the flow because it is engulfed in so much water and storm and dust. So the two of them coming together, it's already volatile energy. At 0 degrees Aries, the very first degree of the entire zodiacal wheel, if you think of the zodiacal wheel as a life cycle, right? If we were in 29 degrees Pisces, 10 degrees Pisces is the oldest and wisest you can be. And then from the 29 moving into that 0 degrees Aries, it's like the birthing canal. You die from the 29 degrees Pisces, and then you move through the birthing canal, and then you're birthed anew as the 0 degrees Aries. Brand new baby. You don't know what the fuck you're doing. You just got here. It's a brand new cycle. So you have to start from the beginning to actually learn what's going on. The fact that this conjunction between these two generational planets, and when it comes to the transits of generational planets, they are more focused on the collective rather than the individual. They definitely do still have an impact on the way you move and operate through the world. And I would suggest you look at the house it's falling in your birth chart to see exactly the energies you're moving with when it comes to this transit. But when these two generational planets come together at the first degree of the entire zodiacal wheel, it's a fool's game. It's like they're both, and Aries rules the head. So, of course, as I was about to say, they're crashing heads. Like one is trying to rule over the other because Aries, I like Aries energy because it's almost like there's no rules, not because there's not rules in place in the system, but because Aries doesn't know the rules yet. They just got here and they're learning as they go, and that's what Aries thinks life is. It's a constant evolution of learning as I go. And the system I have been birthed into, I'll figure it out along the way, and I'll adhere to the rules that make sense to me. But if the rules don't make sense to me, fuck the rules. I don't need to follow them. I'm following my own path. And so that's part of the reason Saturn does not like Aries, because Saturn needs structure and rules and something to adhere to. Neptune doesn't like Aries because it's a fire sign and it's a very watery, unconscious, collective energy. And Aries is very independent and fire and headstrong and will just go after it to do it. Aries is bold and direct in that manner, so Neptune doesn't like that energy because of that. So it's like both of these planets are just wildly uncomfortable in Aries, and they're wildly uncomfortable with each other. And they're trying to duke it out to see which energy is going to overrule the other in terms of how we move forward as a collective, which is why, in terms of history, we've seen so much calamity and violence and war and revolution and destruction and rebuilding during these uh, conjunctions in history. Because just when they conjoin, it's already volatile. When you add 0 degrees in Aries, nobody knows what the fuck is going on. Nobody knows what the fuck is going on. So, like I said, definitely check where this is falling in your birth chart, because this is an energy that's going to revolutionize the way you move regarding the house structure that it falls in your birth chart. It's also going to take a look at your own spiritual structures as well, the spiritual structures of the collective, and allow us to be more disciplined in that. Disciplined in a way that allows us to look internally at ourselves and see where we have not allowed structure to reign in terms of our spiritual understanding of ourselves and the way we approach life. And through disciplined action, we will be able to take the energies of Neptune and the way it's moving in our birth charts and channel it internally to discover gifts that we can then use to aid the collective on this journey that we are all going together, starting at the 0 degrees Aries. I touched on this during my Aquarius eclipse video I just posted. If you are able to put structured discipline to the ways you approach your spiritual understanding of the way you move through life, this is an energy that can work for you. But that doesn't mean there's not going to be chaos and volatility to it. That's part of the lesson of this conjunction. That's part of the lesson of what we're moving through. It's learning how to work with the chaos and make the chaos work for you, and allowing the chaos to knock you on your ass so you can stand up and say, okay, so that didn't work. How can I move forward from here? Because that's Aries energy. It's just getting up time and time and time again. If something doesn't work, you don't let it keep you down. You don't ever accept defeat. You keep going. That's the Aries energy in this. You keep going. You keep standing up no matter how many times you get smacked in the face. Saturn will like the fact that you continuously stand up and try again and try again and try again because it shows that you are committed to something bigger than yourself. Neptune will like it because it'll show you're not afraid of the unconscious realms. You're not afraid of the unknown to continue to stand up and go after it. So wherever this falls in your birth chart, whatever house it's in, really, really adhere to the system that that house upholds, the themes that that house moves through, because that's how you are going to make this energy work for you as you move ahead for what's to come. And along with Saturn and Neptune in Aries, we will also have Chiron in Aries, but that's farther down in the degrees, where Chiron will be at 23 degrees and 24 degrees as we move through Pisces season. And again, Chiron is our deepest wounds and our efforts to heal them. So while all of that's going on at the beginning of Aries, it'll take a lot of the focus off of our core wounds. But there's still this element at play where it's like our core wounds are going to not necessarily demand attention, but there's going to be a subtle underlying factor of your core wounds trying to say, are you sure this is safe? We've already fallen down 8 times. Are you sure you want to try again? Because there's a part of you, going back to that subconscious energy, there's a part of you like that there's this fear. There's this fear of the continuation of the headstrong energy. There's this fear of trying again because you've already failed this many times. Why would this next time be any different? That's that Chiron and Aries energy where it's like you're questioning your own ability to take yourself and put yourself out there because Aries energy is independence. So it's this collective wound surrounding independence that's getting highlighted by this conjunction with Saturn and Neptune. It's this collective wound of independence, of hyper independence from the past, and that's why we're having this system restructure itself because we've been in a society that's been too focused on hyper independence, which is why we've ended up where we are, where people are impoverished and food unstable and there's just so many things wrong with the system as it stands. It's because of the hyper independence and the greed that came with the hyper independence of the few. So those underlying fears of Chiron and Aries are going to be almost attempting to prevent you from getting up and trying again and trying again and trying again during this Saturn and Neptune conjunction, and especially as Saturn and Neptune both move through Aries as a whole. Saturn is a 2.5 year transit, Neptune is a 14-year transit. So it's a lot of restructuring self identity and the ways that we can tap into our self expression, heal those wounds of self identity and self assertion and independence and hyper independence, and utilize our own sense of identity as an individual, find the gifts that we can share and bring them to the collective. And I said this again, I highly suggest going back and watching my Aquarius eclipse video because there's a lot of subtle energies that we are moving through as the North Node moves into Aquarius that are being amplified by our Pluto in Aquarius too, which speaking of, I think it is about time we get to Pluto. There's not much going on. Pluto's going to be at 4 degrees for the majority of this Pisces transit. Although it will be ruled by our Saturn, which is going to be conjoining Neptune. So, but it'll be ruled by our Saturn, which is already an effort towards discipline. And then that Saturn and Neptune will be ruled by our Mars, which for the majority of the time is going to be in Pisces well, not the majority of the time, for about half the time it'll be in Pisces. And I think when it moves from Aquarius to Pisces, we're going to feel a subtle yet significant shift. Because again, as I mentioned earlier, Aquarius, Mars has a lot of room to move around and do and be and sprint and do whatever it wants when it's in Aquarius because it's blown by the Aquarian winds. When it moves into Pisces, it cannot be blown by the wind to make it go faster. It has to rely on its own inner strength to get there. So again, because we have all of these planets in Pisces already, because our Aries energy, Chiron, Neptune, and Saturn are all going to be ruled by that Mars, which will then be in Pisces, and all of this energy brings us back to our Jupiter retrograde in Cancer. While there is collective action to be taken, the emphasis for this Pisces season is what work can I do within myself so I'm able to show up for the collective. That's the majority of what we're moving through. And then there is something I do want to mention, which will activate on March 2nd until the 19th. So the second half of Pisces season, we'll have the North Node square our dark moon Lilith at 8 degrees Pisces for the North Node and Sagittarius for the dark moon. Now, squares are tension, but with all of this Piscean energy, that tension can be good, especially because it's tension bringing the involvement of another fire sign that's not Aries. Sagittarius, while Aries is a fire sign that's very focused on hyper independence, Leo is also a more independent fire sign. Sagittarius loves independence and loves freedom and loves sovereignty. But with Sagittarius, it's an independence that is collective focused because Sagittarius is considered the most mature out of all of the fire signs because it comes the latest in the zodiacal wheel. So if we're moving with the energy of this Lilith and Sagittarius, it brings us that fire, that spark that can learn how we can better move through the world with that independent energy, how we can approach situations that deal with the dark moon and the dark mother wounds that we are facing collectively. That's part of why we're moving. It's part of why we're experiencing what we're experiencing right now, because the mother has been suppressed and violently beaten and pushed down and suppressed. I think I just said suppressed, oppressed, suppressed. The mother has been nearly destroyed by the patriarchy. So that square, when we have the North Node squaring the Dark Moon Lilith, it's going to make us take a hard look at the ways we are approaching our destiny as a collective, where we are moving and evolving to as a collective, and how we can heal those mother wounds as a way to help us evolve towards a greater and more harmonious expression of what it means to be tapped into the Divine Mother. So again, that'll be the second half of Pisces season. And then I think we also will have the sun conjunct the North Node at 9 degrees Pisces. That'll be on February 28th, so the last day of February. And when the Sun conjuncts the North Node, it's going to put an illumination first, but a couple days, so exactly 2 days before that square with the dark moon, the Sun will conjoin the North Node. And when that happens, it's going to illuminate our path ahead very quickly because the Sun is a faster moving element in the sky. So it's just going to be for 1 day versus the couple weeks that we'll have it with the North Node and the dark moon. But when that Sun illuminates the North Node, it's going to give us a clearer vision of where we need to go collectively. And it'll give us a glimpse into the path that we can take, or the paths that we can take that will bring about the most cohesion in terms of collective and forward movement, because this is happening in Pisces, which is the collective unconscious. And again, all of this Piscean energy is already going to be activated at this point. So how can we move ahead? How can we utilize this vision that we see for the future that will benefit the whole and make it a reality where people actually benefit as a humanity, as a human system, rather than that? And again, go back and watch the Aquarius eclipse video because I talk a lot about Pluto through Aquarius and the Aquarius eclipse, and how when the North Node gets into Aquarius, it's going to amplify a lot of those energies, and how the structure that we exist in that was built by our Pluto and Leo generation is going to crumble during these years, especially when the North Node moves to Aquarius. I'll probably talk more about that later, but if you want to dip your toes in for now, I definitely suggest watching that video. But those are pretty much the transits we're moving with. So let's see what the cards have to say. I just heard what to do, much ado, about nothing or something new. What to do, much to do, or what to do, much ado about nothing or something new. What to do, much ado about nothing or something new. And that gives me Piscean energy. Do you see the way that's the Fool? That gives me Piscean energy as well. And what did I say about the 0 degrees Aries? That's the Fool energy. That's the Fool energy. Ace of Swords. New beginnings that are helping us clear out and slice away the baggage that truly we cannot be carrying anymore. It's just this emphasis on new beginnings, and that's where I was getting at with that phrase. Much to do, or what to do, much ado about nothing or something new. There's the Ace and the Fool. So it's this idea that it's like we are allowing the calamity, we are allowing the chaos to reign, we are allowing the energy of the collective, Two of Pentacles, of the collective understanding of where we need to go. Oh, the Two of Pentacles is an interesting energy too. Strength at the bottom of the deck. What was that too? And the Sun underneath Strength. So the illumination and Strength goes back into what I was saying about using this energy that's very water inundated, a lot of it ruled by that Jupiter in Cancer, all of the Piscean energy. The Strength is asking you to get a grip on your base instincts. Get a grip on your base instincts. And again, those unconscious fears that you have been harboring for a long time or repressing for a long time, look at them. Look at them, because the illumination of that is exactly what's going to help you with the indecision that you may be feeling about your own path. And I know this is something I've been moving through, where I have felt at times almost like it's wrong to focus on my own inner work when there's so much calamity happening, especially because for a time I felt like I was ignoring the innate privilege that I have as a white woman in this nation. And I was almost like giving myself a poor me attitude because of the shit I've been dealing with. First of all, anything you're ever feeling is valid despite what's going on externally. And I think when we feel these emotions of, oh, I feel like I should be focused on something else, like these problems are so much bigger than me, the problems that you are, whatever is coming up within you is coming up because you need to put your eyes on that. You need to bring it to your awareness, bring it to your illumination, so you can actually make the change internally, so you can actually show up in ways that matter for the world, for the collective, for your neighbors. If anything is coming up internally that feels icky, gucky, ooey, gooey, like you're moving through molasses and syrup, it's coming up because it needs to be seen and it needs to be dealt with and it needs to be released. Because you won't be able to show up fully in a way that actually matters if you're still repressing things that you don't want to look at internally. And that's what this new beginning is. There's indecision here, or an overemphasis on contemplation, because part of you feels like you should be responsible for the collective calamity. But the only way you'll be able to start on that new fool's journey that a lot of these transits want us to move through, not only as individuals, but as a collective, the only way you'll be able to start and have those new mental pathways fortified so you can move forward with clarity and with assurance that you are going exactly where you're meant to be. You are moving through what needs to be moved through. The Emperor and the Ace of Cups. And then the Eight of Pentacles at the bottom with the High Priestess. Oh my goodness. Yeah. The only way you're going to be able to show up, and then the Hierophant was under the Emperor. Structure, order, discipline. Structure, order, discipline. A lot of masculine cards here. The Hierophant, Strength, Emperor, the Sun, the Fool. The Eight of Pentacles has a mustachioed man, and then there was the Knight of Wands under there, and then the Queen of Cups. The only way you're going to be able to actually show up in ways that matter while we move through this collective undoing so we can re-become what we need to be as a collective. The only way we're going to be able to do that is if we allow ourselves to tap into that unconscious energy, that emotional energy, the sides of ourselves we don't really want to see, and allow ourselves to be a student of that, a student of the unconscious. Allow ourselves to be curious about what is actually coming up, and not only be curious about it, but allow ourselves to be curious enough to face it, acknowledge it, feel it, heal it, release it, give it thanks, or even better than releasing it, integrating it. Some of it, yeah, release it, give it to God, transmute it, whatever you got to do. Some of this needs to be integrated. Some of these fears need to be integrated because there's strength in the fears. That's what the strength card represents. It's the taming of the lion. It's the taming of the base and primal instincts, the base and primal fears. It's the fears that are still embedded, but also indebted. And that'll make sense for what I'm about to say. The fears that are still embedded in us from our ancestors that had to deal with actual lions in the wilderness, that had to trust their base primal instincts just to survive. Collectively, we still have those fears. That's why anxiety ramps up when we're just going to the office for our 9 to 5, because our nervous system still equates any sort of uncertainty or discomfort with death, with not being able to survive. It's innately within our DNA. It still exists within us, but there's strength in that. If we're able to take it from anxious over awareness into something that we can put inside of ourselves and use as a teacher to heal what needs to be healed within ourselves, that's how we show up for others. That's how we can actually operate in the world around us. But the things that need to be seen need to be seen. The unconscious needs to be felt and moved through, because there's wisdom there. There's wisdom there. There's a ton of wisdom there. But structure, order, discipline, action, responsibility. Responsibility starts internally. Yeah. Ace of Cups, Ace of Swords, and the Fool. Like, new beginnings are here. And then the Three of Pentacles was under here. New beginnings are here. Collaboration is here. Action is here. We have 3 knights. Action is here. And all of this is putting an end to this indecision. This is the only, this and the Three of Pentacles, the 2 and 3 of Pentacles are the only non-face cards. Oh, and the 8 of Pentacles. And all Pentacles. Otherwise, everything is either Major Arcana, an Ace, or a Queen, Page, or Knight. Pentacles, structure, order, discipline, foundational energy. If you actually put in the work and trust in the collaborations and the people that you're surrounding yourself with, or even if you might be hermiting right now, if you trust in any energies that come forth to help you move through and work through what needs to be worked through, you can see both of them got their hammer and chisel. It'll help with the indecision or uncertainty you might be feeling. And this indecision and uncertainty is actually so important because it's once you sort through this that you will know exactly when, where, and how to take real action that makes a difference outside of your own self, in the collective. But you need to do the work in order to find that clarity of understanding. And that's what this Pisces season is about. It's going down deep, getting to the root of everything, drudging up those roots, releasing or integrating or transmuting, and having that cleared system. Again, I'm going to reiterate, meditation is going to be your best friend during this Pisces season. Take heed, take advantage, and ride on the wind, babe, or on the waves, because we're moving from Aquarian wind energy to the Piscean waves. So ride on the waves and trust you know how to body surf. You already know. You're relearning, if anything. You're not learning from the start, you're relearning. And that's what this Pisces season is teaching us. We've been here before and we know what we're doing, but we have to clear out the gunk and sludge and mud and everything that is blocking our awareness. Thanks for being here. I love y'all and I love doing this. Again, expect more. I believe my next video will be for the Virgo full moon, which is the third. That's going to be another eclipse, a full moon lunar eclipse. That'll be March 3rd. Expect a video for that, and then a video for Aries season after that. And we're gonna keep going, babes. We're gonna keep going. Oh, I didn't talk about the moon cycles. First quarter moon in Gemini on the 24th. That'll station exact at 7:28 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The full moon in Virgo, as I just mentioned, will be March 3rd at 6:38 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I've seen online people saying 3:33 Pacific Time, but the 3 ephemerises I looked at say 38. So I think maybe somebody just saw the 38 and we're like, it's close enough. I'm sticking with what the books say. So 6:38 a.m. Eastern Standard Time or 3:38 a.m. Pacific Time. That's on the 3rd. Virgo moon 12 degrees. Last quarter moon in Sagittarius 20 degrees on March 11th, 2026, and that'll be exact at 5:38 a.m. And then the new moon in Pisces at 28 degrees on the 18th. So, yeah, those will be the next ones. I'll do the full moon eclipse in Virgo, video for that. New moon in Pisces, video for that. And then probably either I'll combine Pisces, no, I'll probably do a different one for Aries season so we can get all the way through. And then that's when I'll do another card reading. This is fun. Again, thank you guys for being here. If you've stayed this long, and I wish you well. Happy sailing. Love y'all.